Okay, so had some video issues, but we're back. So you see they took the two fade, um, but we can see why we like this play so much against one pressure. Same look here. We were tighter on our bunch. You'd want in the college Texas world to put the bunch on a hash to spread things out. But same thing, right? One pressure, this plays premier. You're gonna win the slant back underneath, and that's your big catch and run. We're short on it. He barely gets the line of scrimmage, right? You want to push this thing to 5 if you can, understanding that you'll probably, from how deep you are in the bunch, especially Josh here, he's way deep. You might get to 3 or 4 yards, but you definitely want to push it deeper in here. You'd want to be wider than this to put that man coverage guy in a little bit harder situation where he has to play over the top, right? We'd love him to have to play over the top of the fade or the corner runner, depending on how you want to run it. But same thing. You can see why it's so good against one. Here's a look at them running the same play with the choice runner coming from the outside guy. So this being the exact same play as stack, you just have an extra shallow guy. So here's where I'm a little different than maybe how they're running it. I would prefer, like, I'm pushing hard on the slant. Like, to me, this is a slant rep. Like, we are running the slant unless he takes it away. Does he take away the slant? No. Like, I'm not worried. Quarterback will handle the hole player, the rat player, the low hole, whatever he is. Quarterback will handle that guy. You're not running off this guy. Once it's man coverage, you're running off the man coverage defender. And we want to run the slant here. You see Goff's a half a second late. He kind of double clutches this thing. He might have anticipated that the slant. Right, quarterback, we're anticipating the slant will react to the out. But you see why it's this is a great look of why you want to stem the outside hip of the two fade runner, the corner runner, wherever you're running with the bunch guy, because you get this guy in a really tough position defensively, where you get a running pick, a running screen, whatever you want to call it, to play off of. Good play. See it play out against cover 2 here, right? And this will show up over and over and over. Any sort of coverages to where the mic doesn't have to take the shallow through, you really enjoy defensively. Okay, so if the mic here can let the shallow go because he has cloud or cover 3, whatever backside, um, any routes where he can let the shallow go, he's able to sink back, and now you can get your 3 on. Now this thing should be covered up completely, right? Because now you get your 3 underneath guys on the one runner, and you take away all 3 options. So this is the premier defensive call against it. He just gets maybe a little bit too much depth, but you could give up a 4-yard catch and tackle. Right. So defensively, let the shallow go, and now you have all 3 options taken out for the runner. Same thing here. Caverson cover 3 variation, right? Same thing. Anytime the mic can let the shallow go and sink, now you're able to get 2 on the option runner. You can see the issue that provides for an offense. So offensively, right, this play is like one of the most polarizing plays. Talking about butcher bunch choice, because it's just so good against some things. Like, it's elite against cover 1 pressure, against box checks, but it's really bad against 2, 3, that kind of world. Right, so you'd have to build in something you really like back here to get to. Maybe double call it if you can see it, that kind of world. Right, 2 plays at once can get back and forth, that whole system. The issue is just that stuff's harder to see from bunch. It's just not clean looks a lot of times. But if you could, you'd want to do that definitely. So any sort of 4 or 5 underneath dropper defenses are going to be problematic, right? Because he can pass it, and now you're 2-on-1 here. Same thing here. Cover 3's NFL, how it looks. Plays out the exact same way. The mic can let the shallow go, and now you get 2 on the choice runner. and you end up getting scrambles and whatnot. So this is what you want it, right? You want it against one, you want it against the box check. You want our bunch to be a little bit wider again, right? You want this thing on the hash to provide more room on the slant. But you see just what's happening here, right? We're draining the mic. The mic has to take the shallow. We're going to get a double team on the corner, the two fade, right? And now we're one-on-one with the nickel, who's going to be an outside leverage when we're on the slant against them. Right, so this is what's Premier against. Cover one pressure, and then like if you can get the box check, this is what you want it against. So the reason I like it more with number 3 running the choice instead of number 1 is this reason. If you're number 1, it's gonna be harder to get back inside. Let's say it's 1 running it. Right, so you get the shallow from 3, you get the 2 fade to the corner from 2, and then 1 is running the choice. It's gonna be harder to get back inside that nickel because you're already outside leverage room. I think the play is safer from out here against most coverages because you have a chance to turn the out and beat the flat defender because you're probably outside the flat defender a lot of zone coverages. The play is safer from number 1 running it. I think the play is significantly more explosive from 3 running it. Now, I'm generally chasing explosives in game playing more than I'm taking the 5-yard out throws. So recap: 1, running the choice, it's safer, less explosive. 3 is more explosive, but there's more coverages that can take it away. Just based off where the flat defender is in relation to where you are running it. Two-man look. This is a fantastic rep here of having some sort of awareness. Like I would not expect my receiver to have awareness for this 2-man guy or 5-man guy, however you want to term it. I think Cup might see that and stab the slant to run the out. I think this is also difficult on a quarterback. You can see Goff here trying to pull the trigger in the slant. It's not there. It's to reset. He's able to make the throw. You're just gonna be a little late on it, obviously, but it's a really fun rep from Cup of having awareness of like the rob or whatever you want to call this guy. Taking away the possible slant and him running the out route. Just a fantastic actual route. I would not expect my guys to be able to do this or to see this. I would probably harp on them to run the slant here and live with it. But it is a really good rep of seeing like a fantastic route. Same thing here as far as once the mic, because you have halves backside, you have cloud backside. Once the mic can pass 2 back, or I'm sorry, once the mic can pass 3 back on the shallow, you're able to get more bias to the front side of the play where the play is staying. Here's what I'm talking about. The play is safer from number 1 running the choice because now you have levers on a flat defender and he's able to get 6 or 7 yards, right? So it's not bad. If that was number 3, you'd be viced. If 3 is running the choice here, you'd be completely viced and the play would not be very good. So you can change that based off what you're getting that week. The issue is if you did get like a box check out of this, right, you're not gonna be able to get back inside the guy and you're potentially losing a 30-yard gain to take this 6, 7, 8-yard out route. But defensively, I like any sort of 4 under, 5 under coverages, right? Cloud, 3, whatever. Anytime the mic can pass the shallow back here, you're in pretty good shape. I'm gonna spend about 2 minutes on this. Not my favorite play in the world. Okay, so like any sort of like spacing stuff, any of this quick stick stuff, I'm not super fans of. I think like the stats will show it. So I should have covered this. 117 is the normal efficiency of a pass play of the 80 or so games I have. Okay, so anything under that you don't love. Obviously sample size plays into that, but here you have 52 reps. Okay, so 52 reps, averaging 5.7 yards per play on, I'm just talking like 2-man stick concept, whatever you want to call this stuff. They end up mirroring it most of the time. So, efficiency is kind of low here. It's like a curl flat type thing, and yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just kind of dangerous for what you're getting out of it. It's kind of like the risk reward, like how many 5-yard out throws you get to throw. to get 5 yards before it's a pick six type thing. And it's like you can see my grades are not great on it. You just like it against soft corners, and I have other things I like that are much more explosive and get more yards than a 5 yard out throw. So like, that's just my personal bias against this play, but you see it a ton. Talking just ends up being mirrored a lot, but just two-man stick, which I'll call him skunk for whatever reason. Spray Omaha, right? Omaha being like a 5 yard out route that will convert against Cloud. You don't have to convert it against Cloud because you're probably not going there anyways, right? So if I was installing an offense tomorrow and my head coach made me put this play in, I probably wouldn't convert it. It's just not really worth it. Talk about that stuff. Uh, so the outside guys are running, 5 yard spray Omahas, spray being tight split spray away from the football with sticks on the inside. Okay, so 5 yard sticks that if matched, if covered, then will turn out. And then the back, being the third option, will have a check over, or you could have them on some sort of check option. The issue with this play is any sort of tight coverage, there's nowhere to go with the football, right? So you see a lot of fours, a couple threes, and then a lot more fours, right? So any sort of tight coverage is not fantastic against. And then any sort of loose coverage, I have other plays I like that get more than 5 yards. So, but it is a very common play, so I'm gonna go over it. It's a very simple play. It's easy for the quarterback. And I don't mind like a two-man, like if you want to do this to one side, cool. But just have something else to scan back into. Like I don't want to mirror this play. I want some sort of like Y cross over it to like to full field scan back into, something like that. So I don't hate the two-man concept because it's easy, it's a quick throw. I just don't like mirroring I don't like mirroring plays, period, but especially like quick plays like this. And you see the start, like it does make sense to motion with it to create the stack on the run, to get that off coverage and then bang the play out there, right? QB's picking a side pre-snap, going outside, inside to back. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on this stuff. Same play here. You get the motion, choose a side quarterback, go outside, inside, back. Here's where I start not liking it is what's the risk reward here for a 5 yard gain? Like what's the opportunity cost and all that kind of like we're gonna throw this and get 5 yards and then they're gonna pick six it pretty soon. Here's a good rep again to the back, outside, inside, back. You can see some like kind of like half conversion-ish type thing down here where he ends up running like a deeper corner up top that he does not convert it, and that's fine to me. All right, inside, you go outside stem, run the stick. If you're matched, break on the out. So here's where I kind of get turned off on the play is because it is only good against soft coverages. You have to start canning and like checking into it. And it's the whole thing. Like I don't particularly want to check into a 5 yard play. Like it's just not worth it to me. And here's what you get. Right, they end up checking this play into it. And then you get the flat player to buzz underneath number one, and now you got to pick six. I just have seen this play picked too many times. There's a play, Will Levis against Tennessee, not last year, the year before, right? They show one high soft coverage. They end up spinning the two trap post snap, and he throws it to the field, and it's a walk-in pick six. Right, so a little bit of my personal bias against this play, but it is a part of their package. I know it's a very common play across the world. I just don't like if you look at the numbers, it's not great. If you look at the film, it's not great. I'm not sure that this play is worth installing. Now, what is good about it is the pumps off of it. Right, so you end up getting to 4 vertical landmarks. Everybody's running the and go version. So you get the Omaha and go. You get the stick and go, the stick nod, whatever you want to call it. You end up getting some nice 4 vertical type looks off of it. Same thing though, you don't like this against press man tight coverage because they'll be able to play it pretty easily down here at the boundary. Quarterback, same thing, like in 4 verts, he's picking a side. I guess the read would probably be flipped here. You go outside to inside to back instead of normal verticals going inside to outside to back. Like this is the only reason the play somewhat intrigues me is for the pumps off of it. Good look here. It's quarter halves. That ends up getting to the exact same four vertical landmarks. You just probably a little bit better than four verticals a lot of times. So you get, like some sort of pump action on the two players to open up the seams a little bit. This is just a hellacious throw and catch up top. Obviously, you got Higby winning. Wide open here. And finally, you can just pump one side of it, right? So if you have the what you want pre-snap, the skunk side up here to the left, it stays on. If you don't like it, then you have the pump side down here to the right. I kind of like this idea. Never done it, never really played with it. Of keeping one side on and one side being the deeper side. But this kind of stuff would intrigue me more of not mirroring it as much, but having like different concepts to scan back into type thing. So just throwing out some thoughts there. For those of you that run this kind of stuff. Last look at the pump. Right, they're keeping the skunk on up top, and they're running the pump down here. This is one of the rare misses from Rodgers. Completion, but it's a 25-yard gain instead of a much bigger gain. So similar thought process, talking about base, which is bunch spacing. Same route up here. You got spray Omaha, spray release to 5 yards, run the out. If it's any sort of cloud equals a conversion, right, to the fade. You have an over route, okay, which is 5 yards over the ball, and then you end up having a spaced hitch, which would be like a 7-yard stop, 7-yard hitch. In this thing and should be actually on the hash. So 7-yard hitch on the hash. In the NFL, the film, you'll see this thing because the hash is so much tighter. This spaced hitch is actually hitting in the divide. And then backside, you have you can kind of do whatever you want. We can see here that the ball is not how these guys are running it, being really McVay's the only one that runs it in this circle. The ball, this was called 7 times, and the ball only went here once. And it went to the Omaha. Okay, so it went to the yes, no Omaha type thing. Cowboys are pretty good at this football play. And they run, drag or slant shoot, whatever you want to do, and they just full field read it. So however you want to read this side, 1 to 2 to 3, right? It's an easy scan all the way across the field. I kind of like that version of it. And they're yes knowing the Omaha. So the reason, once again, I'm not a huge fan of this type of thing is this Omaha. Same thing I've seen it picked, right? Prescott threw a pick right to the Commanders to end the season on this. It's like, is that 5-yard throw to the field worth it? In my mind, probably not. Okay, but obviously, people have done this for a long time. They're much more successful than me. Up top, right? Only a trips play, so it's only a bunch play. It's to them could be a first look side or a second look side, depending on how you want to teach it. I don't really see like a huge attack, right? Like we're not putting a curl flat guy and really sort of any sort of a conflict. The sample size is so low, it's hard to really get much out of these numbers because they threw this once of the 7 times they ran it. Same thing, soft coverage is good. Any sort of tight coverage is bad. So any sort of tight coverage, these guys are running what I call a host, right? Which would be a hitch or a stop if you're pressed. And then the running back will run it like a bait, right? So like a check sit type thing. The ball generally is going here, the 1-on-1. Okay, so any sort of tight coverage, there's nothing's gonna be open because it's all stationary routes. Another reason I don't like this is like I think in the year 2023, you have to have places to go against tight coverage. Tight coverage to me being man or being any sort of match coverages. So when these guys are calling the play, the ball is going here 6 out of 7 reps. Here's the way I like it, right? This play is not included anytime that I should have said this earlier, anytime a non-Rams Niners play is on here, this is not included in the numbers. So you can kind of see the intent of the play. I really like how these guys run it. If I had to run it one way, these guys are alerting or yes knowing the Omaha. He likes it here, plays over, though the 5-yard out. If he didn't like this, any sort of tight coverage, right? Then they're full field, just going through slant, shoot, on the ball guys run the over at 5 yards, and then you're getting a 7 yard space hitch, right? Like I said, in the NFL, that's in the divide. In college, that's on the hash. So he likes it, plays over. If not, he would just scan straight back through. I've seen like the Chargers last couple of years would go some sort of like snag pick for the rail, right? Obviously, that's a really good tight coverage play. And then he would just Herbert would just still scan right through it, right? So I like that kind of world of scanning into this type of play. Makes it worth it to me. They'll look at it, motioning across. For whatever reason, he doesn't like this. Okay, I find that maybe he thinks they're rolling the cloud based off this guy's depth. Whatever. He doesn't like the yes, no. Find that decision. Now just scan right back through it. So the Cowboys have really good reps. If you're interested in this concept, this bunch spacing and running it this way with this as your scan into side, they have some really good reps of it. All right, so here's a look of them throwing the Omaha. Like it's just not worth it to me. So here's a throw in the backside tag. Obviously, you don't like this in the cover two, the slant shoot. Not what you want. You're running right into people. But there's nowhere else really to go with the football. Like you need like an old school spot drop team to run this stuff against. That's why I don't love spacings. I don't like the Omaha stuff. With all the tight coverage, matchup, man match stuff you're getting, even zone. I think that stuff's kind of has had its day. So similar play. Um, I call it bastard, right? So it's a bunch spacing being base. Bastard is bunch spacing, essentially just with a dig over top of it. Uh, so the thought process is still the same. You have your one-on-one backside, and the ball is not going there, right? So this thing was called total 17 times, and it was thrown to this side 16 times. So a lot of times you're getting like comeback with what I call the bait route, all that kind of stuff, backside. So bunch spacing with a dig. It's only out of trips, right? Timing, it's your first look side, so you're always gonna look here first. You do have a hook curl attack, and I'll get into that a little bit later. That's the point of this play. And 7.4 yards, pretty good. The issue is the efficiency. I think one of those plays was like a big play, right? So the efficiency was pretty low. Nice distribution of the football play, right? It's kind of going all over the place. It's going, and I just changed it. So this should say bait, right? So dig is getting them 6 times. The bait ended up getting it twice, and the over got it 7 times when they called this. Going through the coverages, right? So same thing. I like it because I can win a dig against one pressure. Don't like it against a rat because they're gonna sit on everything. You got a rat guy right in the hole. Cover two, it has a place. It's okay. Again, and we'll talk about these as we go through the film. It's elite against fire zone stuff. Same reason that a lot of these concepts are. And all this stuff will make more sense on the film. And you can see kind of all the grades there. So like we talked about the butcher concept, bunch choice. This play it's the same kind of hook curl type thing, right? So just go over it real quick. You get this the over route here. You're getting a bait route, which is a 5 yard sit in the divide. If you're matched, run the out, and you're getting a in the playbook it's a glance, but ends up really being like a 12 yard dig, right? Most of the time. And what you're trying to do is you want to in out the hook curl, right? So you're putting a guy in the hook area, and you're putting a guy in the curl, and you're playing off this defender. So if you're able to pass off this type of shallow, right? So same as Butcher, if you're able to push off, pass that thing back off because you got 2 guys backside, you really like this defensively. Okay, because now you can sit in the hook window, he can sit in the curl, and it's all covered. The issue is if you pass it off, and then your hook guy comes and plays a curl, you got nobody left in the hook. Okay, so we'll show like good examples defensively playing this in the same coverage, and then like a bad example of it being played on the same coverage. Right. So when I say there's a hook curl attack, I'm putting a guy in the hook and I'm playing a guy in the curl. If you have a hook defender and a curl defender, that's obviously not any good. Okay, if you have one, then we like it. The hook defender expands all the way out to the curl window. Okay, so they get no in the hook. We like this play. Like I said, it's probably in the playbook as a glance, right? It ends up being a 12-yard dig, and that's how I would teach it. Quarterback wise, I would teach it bait to dig to this over route sitting over the football. Right? You can run a shallow or the over. I like the over. Gives you somewhere to possibly get back to the ball with. The shallow, you're just running into humans over there. Awesome against fire zone, right? For that same reason. You're draining the mic, and now you get two on this guy. You're just in-outing the two player now. Right? You no longer have a hook defender because he's running over. Now you have a hook, you have a curl, you got one guy to play both. That's what you want. Right? So this plays a league against the fire zone worlds. So that's how I kind of look at attacking zone coverages. Is if I'm putting a guy in the hook and I'm putting a guy in the curl, right? Obviously, I don't want the defense to have a hook and a curl defender. Playing quarter halves. That's why you see this spacing of this being so important. Right? You're able to drain for whatever reason, right? The mic can't pass it off. I guess they're playing a different version of cloud back here, like a more vertical version, vertical hook type thing. So he's got to take the over out, right? So you end up getting two guys on this guy. The issue is, right? You end up stacking these guys on top of each other. There's no in out. You need if Cup was in the divide, then you'd have this wide window to hit this thing right on the hook area, right on the hash. Right? It ends up working out, but he has to go deeper and all that kind of stuff. This play would be much cleaner. That's why the spacing of all this stuff is important. Right? This play would be much cleaner if he was in the divide. This ball could be hit faster right there on the hash, and I have to wait. Right. So like I don't look at high lows as really existing, right? I think to properly high low somebody, you need like 20 yards in between them. Like you can't high low defender at 5 and 12, right? That guy can easily play both. What you can do is you can in out them, right? You can put whatever that is, 5, 8 yards of distance between them horizontally. Right? Like this is bad space. You need him here and him on the hash. And then from a game playing perspective, right? You look at this and okay, they're playing quarters down here. Cool. Right. So I'm gonna drain the 3 player. I'm gonna get my hook curl on one defender. How aggressively are they gonna play the dig with the safety? That's the question you have to ask yourself. They're getting tons of depth here. The dig can be hit, the glance, whatever you want to call it, can be hit. Good. Like the Cardinals, I think clips coming up where that safety is barely backing up. He's scooching. He drives the dig. The play's not as good. So that's where you start game playing it based off the opponent and how they technique things a little bit more. Might be this one. Yeah, it is this one. So same thought process, much better spacing, right? We see how much more open that window is here. Now, much better spacing with him in the divide. The issue now is in the clip, we were getting way out there with depth. Oh, sorry. We'll get back to it. Here we go. The heavy cut up. So say much better spacing here, right? We see the issue though is the quarter safety is not getting any depth, right? Could be based off where you are. But that quarter safety is now able to quote unquote be a hook defender, right? If you want to look at Zoni, he's able to drive the hook area and cover that play. So quarterback bait, no, it's covered. He should probably whip out depending on how you want to teach it. These guys are not as aggressive during the out as I would be. Bait, no. Dig, no. And then the over is ultimately covered as well. So It's a great job actually of uncovering on the over. This is just being a football player. I don't know if this is um, talked about a ton. So here's the issue, right? He can pass back to shallow. Same thing as Butcher. He can pass back to shallow because he got something back here to catch it. And now defensively you have a hook and a curl defender to take away everything away. Right. So this is what you want defensively. Just pass that back off, get a hook guy, get a curl guy, and now you have a guy in both windows. You can see this play can kind of survive if you use the over as now the third look, like the check down. He ends up serving as the back does a lot of times, as like the over the ball, be stationary, 5 yard check down. I'm gonna skip this one because they're running it a little bit differently with different intentions. Right. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do a whole Cowboys thing later. I think they have a pretty sweet offense. Okay. So dirty, aka Swiss, right? It's a shame. It's probably one of my favorite concepts, maybe my favorite concept, if ran and read correctly. I think it's I think you can tell by my grades on the bottom right, right? I think pretty highly of this football play. Um, so it's like a short dagger, okay, type concept, and it's a three-man concept, meaning it doesn't have to be trips or bunch. It could be two guys, two like twins and a running back, two twins and a tight end, a stack and a running back. It could be all different types of things, right? I just know I need three guys, okay, because ultimately I'm gonna have a dig, I'm gonna have a through, I'm gonna have a bait from coming from those three guys. The timing of this multi being it can be used as a first look side or a scan side, and that will make more sense as I go through it. Same thing though, it's a hook curl attack. So you're getting the same things we just went over. The difference is instead of a shallow, you're getting what I call a through route, and I'll go over that in a little bit. It's a shame the yards per play wasn't higher, right? Because I really enjoy this play. Like it makes a ton of sense schematically. I think how they're reading it is probably different than I would talk about. Obviously, the distribution, the ball is kind of going all over the place. Talking about the actual play, so you can do any sort of two-man concept backside of it. Okay, and there'll be a lot of different examples on here, but like a common one from the Dolphins are running, being that like a stick shoot as the first look, curl, flat, like any sort of one high type stuff I would put backside. So this is your one high side. So any sort of one high concept back here. Going back through the teaching of it, right? The bait is the exact same as we just talked about. Um, you're going to stem NFL to the divide. If you're at 5 yards, sit. If you're covered, break out. The dig route is the exact same, 12-yard dig, flat at 12. The through route is what I want to talk about. So how I teach a through route is going to be different. Okay, so back to the unless teaching, right? So as a through route, you're running, and once you get this down, this is like the best route in football, in my opinion. So they talk about how they talk about it is you're running at the deep near safety. So if it's one high, you're running at the deep near safety, and then you're gonna cross his face at 4 yards. Okay. So the issue with that is I don't really know what that means. That's kind of like an air raidy type thing, right? I like chase space. Like, okay, well, I'm trying to coach high school or whatever. Like I can't tell the guy just cross his face at 4 yards. I don't even know what 4 yards is on a football field, much less the 15-year-old I'm trying to teach. So and they would do the same way if it's too high, right? Run right at the deep near safety at 4 yards, cross his face and drain him. Okay, so I like to give actual landmarks. So I'm running a inside post, which means at 12 yards, how I'm teaching it, run an inside post at 12 yards to your foot in the ground, and you're running to the opposite hash at 40 yards. Okay, that will be the strike point. So that's what we're doing. Okay, as soon as it becomes one high, so I'm running inside post. As soon as this becomes one high, I'm running how we always run the high cross, okay? Which be 12 yards, middle of the goalpost to your foot in the ground, run out of bounds at 25 yards. So, and all this will make a lot more sense on the film. And I actually want to make a whole video over this, kind of detailing out a little bit more. But so too high, However you want to teach it, too high, you're running an inside post. Uh, whatever your landmarks are for inside post, for me, it's 12 yards. You want to be on the hash at 40 is the catch point. If as soon as it goes to one high defense, you want to run, however you run your high cross. For me, it's inside stem to the middle of the field at 12 yards. At 12 yards, stick your foot in the ground, run out of bounds at 25 yards. So ends up being the same landmark as a corner. Okay. I kind of breeze through that. It'll make more sense on the film. Quarterback wise, how I would teach this is very one high, two high. So if it's one high, we're working this side. And that includes the high cross coming from the through route. So let's say I go stick, right? Dolphins run this a lot. Good play. So I'm 1 to 2 to the high cross over top of it coming to 3. If it's curl flat, right? It's curl flat to the high cross, or however you want to teach it. But this is like the boundary side. The boundary side is very much your one high side. Your two high side is obviously we really like the dagger side against that. Okay, so you're gonna clear out the safety in two high, right? You can look at that if you want to teach it that way. So if it's too high, and I'm kind of all over the place. I get pretty excited about this play. 1 to 2 to 3. So one high side, two high side. And that's why I say this is like a multi-side, right? Or a multi-like timing. If it's one high, I'm using this as my scan into side. If it's too high, this is my first look side. So a lot of things drawn, a lot of rambling, but it'll make more sense on the film. So here, they're in stack. They're carrying a bunch with this guy, with Robert Woods being the third element. Okay, I'm not going to talk a ton about the backside here. Real quick, how these guys run it, they always run that high cross. Okay, and we can see why I don't love that coming up. Right, so right now, they're always running the high cross. They're not running that inside post like I would like to right here. So you can see why. Okay, as a too high defender, to Tampa, he's going to let the cross go. He would run with the post. Okay, so I'd be able to drain that guy out. All right, so let's just pretend like he's on the post. Now you get the mic out of there. Okay, and now we're putting the same hook curl we just talked about on this defender. The secondary issue is the spacing here, right? Same thing as Cup did earlier. You want this guy all the way in the divide. The issue if he's on the hash, now you're stacking the hash, right? And that one defender can now play both of these. Like you're not putting him in any sort of horizontal stretch. We can see if ran how I'm trying to talk about it. Kind of like the differences, right? You drain this guy on the influence post, you get him out, get him in the divide. And now it should be a walking touchdown on the dig. Because he always runs across, he drops it, and he keeps pushing to the new dig route. So same look here, right? So they're in one high look pre-snap. So I'm thinking as a runner, I'm running the high cross as the through runner. Talking about this guy here. I'm thinking through. As soon as it goes to two Tampa, they go split field. I now need to re-straighten and run to the opposite hash at 40. So same idea here, right? I don't believe they're reading it. I think like the Niners, I know read it, but it looks like they read it at least, I should say. I think like these guys and McVay are always running the crosser, and here's the issue. You don't drain the mic. Now he sits on a dig, and now you're back to having a hook and a crawl defender to cover it all up. But you can see this is exactly like we just talked about in Bastard. You got a bait and the dig. Instead of the shallow, now you're able to drain the two high players better. So like I would run this. I would not run the Bastard version. This to me is a better football play. Right, you can see you're putting the hook curl guy. You're putting the a guy in the hook, a guy in the curl. This guy wants to sit back and play the hook. Then you'll just bang it to the bait route and take your 8 yards. But like we said earlier, they can play this thing pretty easily in 3, right? They have a hook, they have a curl defender, right? So they can take this away. So this is now the side to work in one high. Right here, they just have a go, grit being a go and a bait, and they'll have the high crosser come this way. So it ends up being like a Y cross type look to this side. Right, so one high, this is the side to work. You're 3 for 3. You're hoping one of them opens up type thing, right? And there's all sorts, like whatever your favorite one high beaters are. Like this would not be high up on my list, this one particularly, especially against a bail 3 team. But they're like they're fun, like curl flat type things, stick shoots, like that kind of world to work the one high side, and then you have the crosser over top of it all, right? So like that's a really good one high side. But like just like we discussed earlier on Bastard, right? They can cover this up, and if they play this thing properly, they have a hook defender and a curl defender to take away these two. So this is not even in the progression. Same thing. One high side, like this is where their ball should go. This is the one interesting point of it all. If you did want to always go, if you want to like kill the side and always go wherever you want, through route to dig to bait. This is good against 3 coverages, right? If you can hold it for 19 seconds and hit it behind the 3-up player, like you can drain the 3-up player and hit the dig all the way on this side of the field. It's very like there are like good cuts of that happening. I just don't think that's super realistic um, to block them for that long. Right. So like how I'm talking about the play is a little different than how they're running it. It would play out the same here, right? Because one high run the high cross, like him, if all's equal, take this thing over the top and just drain it all. We can see how the up top route works out, right? And this is like a really common play. They ran it. The Bengals, they hit him on 3rd and 9-ish in the Super Bowl and hit him on it. They run this play quite a bit from bunch. They ran it a lot in the playoffs out of like 2x2, and they'd use the back as the bait route, which I don't have any of those cuts on here, but it's a pretty good way to do it. So you can see kind of what I'm talking about here, how I would think about this play. Is they're running cash being curl shoot, curl flat backside. So curl, he's in protection flat. They're getting the through route being one high crosser, 2 high influence post, bait and dig. Okay. Quarterback wise, one high working boundary side. Okay. So we really like this curl flat concept against one high, obviously. So they're running curl flat. And then what do you have over top of it? If you go curl flat, no, you have the high cross over top of the whole thing. You can see it kind of opening up here. They're always trying to hammer the dig, and this is the issue against one high coverages on the dig. They threw 2 or 3 picks on it, just like this. Right, to me, this plays dead against. Right, they got hook defender, they got curl defender. This plays dead up top against one high. This is your 2 high side. Like this is a premier 2 high beater, really bad 1 high beater. So I'd be working this. The ball would hopefully end up getting to Higbee on the through route, the high cross. You can see the play opening up all the way behind the 3-up player. Based off how they're reading it, they would get there. I would not get there, right? Because I'm keeping the ball down here to the boundary. Same thing. Don't love this as a tag, right? They do a good job of playing it, right? They're so far outside of leverage. Running the speed outs can be tough. 3-up players could take the through route. I really like the stick and I like the curl flat down here. Or even same thing, I would like a glance. So we go glance to shoot to the crosser, the high cross over top of everything. Right. So that's what's fun is you can do whatever you want with these 2 guys down here. Up top, we see this play over and over against 3 deep, how it looks. I'm not gonna keep hammering this thing. Same thing though, you can see it if you want to hold the ball for 19 seconds, you could end up having a huge catch and run behind the 3-up player. It just would take too long. So here's more what I'm talking about, this type of thing, like quick game here. So they're running snail. Snag rail, right? Pretty good name, if you ask me. So they're running snail, one high, 1 to 2 on the rail, to the crosser coming up into top of 3. You can see kind of that space opening up for the high cross later in the down. It's too high, and then I'm working down here. Now they started doing this more and more. I'm tagging the return route. Dolphins do this quite a bit. Is instead of the bait route at 5 yards, sit, break out, he's running essentially like what looks like a choice, right? So he's got outside stem, run the out for 4 steps, stick his foot in the ground, and come back. So it ends up being like a true full field progression of all the way like this way, with the return route being the last look. The issue with it, I found, like, I wanted to like this play. Like, I wanted to like him on the return route quite a bit. The issue is that he ends up stacking on the dig, and you don't get that in and out. Like, you can see it here. They end up stacking right on top of each other. And so you don't put, if there was a hook guy, you don't put him in any sort of conflict. You'd have to probably push this thing like 6 or 8 steps, like super wide, and have him come way back in to make it work. Like, I wanted to like this tag. It just, of the 30 or 40 cuts I watched, they always end up right on top of each other, so it's not great spacing. What doesn't matter if it's one high, right? Because we don't care about the dig in one high. We can go boom, 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 back to the return. The issue, if it's too high, I need that thing spaced out pretty well. Right. So this is the way the Dolphins are running it frequently. Is stick shoot down here, stick shoot, and you can see it all kind of playing out. You need some sort of space. You need like better spacing though. You don't want these guys stacked on each other. Um, you can see it's stick shoot, and then you'd have the crosser in this space over top of it if it's one high. So really good. I like this football play. And we'll get to more of the 2 high looks as we go. Same thing. We got a pick here. They're running Scooby up top, right? Which is like a scout, which would be from compressed to 12 yard out, and then a bait, Scooby, scout bait. And then dirty is what I'm calling this tag, a dig and a through. So you can see by trying to force this ball here, no matter what, and one high coverages, you're avoiding all this space. Like, you're making a really crowded dig throw when like this space is available in one high here, not here. Right. So how I'd be teaching it, we'd be going 1 to 2 to 3 on the cross. Right. Here's another pick trying to throw the ball to the dig. By trying to hammer the side, no matter what the coverage is, there's gonna be nowhere to go in one high a lot of times. Right. So I'm activating this cross more than they probably would. So same thing as Bastard, right? You really like against Fire Zone. For same reason, right? You're draining the 3-player a lot of times, and you're putting 2 guys on this guy. Now, I would not get here based off how I'm reading it. I understand that. I'm willing to give up the 3 Fire Zone hit that they're getting here, because I would be working here. I'd be working boundary side. And I'm fine with that. I like curl flat and all that kind of stuff, whatever the tags are against Fire Zone. But how I'm teaching to read it, I would not be getting this hit. But it is a good play if you want to always read it this way. 3 Fire Zone, you really like this play against. Here's where it gets premier to the front side of the play, right? To the field side against 2 high coverages. So it's like the single best play against like the 5 world, right? The wall carry cover 2 plays, right? The ultimate beater in all the world is gonna be 1 behind 2. So 2 on the clear out and 1 behind them. And that's exactly what you're getting here. So 2 high defense. I know the ball is staying front side. I don't care about the backside tag. Spacing's not great, right? We'd want to fight our way in here, the divide. But you're getting, he's still running more crossing than I would. Too high, right? We're running the influence post to the opposite hash at 40 yards. But you can see if you get any sort of five, like daggers of any sort is what you want, right? Because you're gonna drain the two player, you have leverage on the corner to run the dig behind it. There's gonna be nobody on the dig. So I think this is like one of my rare one grades, right? Because it is a premier beater. Any sort of cover five world is dagger, right? If they don't drop the crease or whatever cool words they want to say, if they don't drop the seam, you're gonna have the dig right behind it. So you can see that this play is really good against one and two high if the eyes are directed properly and you tag the backside boundary side properly. Five man, it's kind of interesting, right? Two man stuff because from bunches and tights, you might get the inside leverage you want to dig, right? There's gonna be nowhere else to go with the football. The through route's not good, the bait route's not good, but you could have like here they get the leverage they want um, on the dig route. So it's interesting. I didn't think about that until I started watching these cut ups. I was like, you know what? It's not a bad play against five man. So here's it's running it down here. Up top, we have the choice go, the chug we talked about earlier with Kittle. Down here, you're running the same concept. They have stack, they're creating bunch with the back, right? So this is how the Rams probably ran this. I don't want to, no, we'll call it eight times in the playoff run 2 years ago this way. And they would change, they would go like different smash variations up top. They would change these two guys, but these three guys would be running as we're talking about dirty, right? Dig through with a bait. Now here, you're getting the return route that we talked about earlier. Like I said, like the issue is you end up stacking this zone offensively. Like you don't ever want to stack zones. You don't want two guys in the same. Like you don't want a high low. I don't think high lows exist like that. This guy can play both, and it's just crowded for the quarterback. So same thing, right? These guys are running more crossy than I would. I would want to obviously you got to avoid this guy get back inside and drain the safety in too high, right? Because I'm trying to hit that dig window right there. The issue is by running more of a cross, this ball, he could drop you and sit back in that dig window. Like I want to step on his toes and cross his face, knowing that I'm probably not gonna get the football. Right. That's like you'd put me right there and just tell me to just go run. Okay, cool, coach. I got you. I'll be right back. Like, because the ball's not going there most of the time. There's about to be a kill clip on here that the ball does go there. Right. So here's your return route, which I think is fine. I don't want the return. I think this concept is good to clear out. I think all that's good. I just don't want it on this play because the intent of this play is to hook curl somebody. So here nobody covers Kittle, so you can see it play out against a more normal two high type quarters. Look down here. So that's good spacing right here. This would be a good example of the return route. Still draining the curl, getting the curl guy out of there, but still being relevant to throw back down into. ET up top, they're going sticky, which is stick shoot. So if it's one high, you end up working this side to the crosser. If it's too high, then you're working post, dig to bait or the return. So you can kind of see the versatility of this football play. Now they run it differently. They kind of like mic stem this thing and then push like run the shoot up the middle. I would probably do it more like the post just because like I don't have this route in. If anybody knows why this is better, please let me know. Maybe this is the reason the safety drops you, which I guess is a great reason now I think about it. I just have never ran this mic stem shoot type route. I've always run it more as the or thought about it more as the post. But you can see the eyes here. It's too high. Like nobody moves. It's very easy. Garoppolo's working this route to this route to this. And you see the window that opens up. You just have to beat the hook player pushing that way on the dig route. That's the only issue here in too high. Curls, I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly, right? This is normal all curls, looks, full field play, right? It's obviously a curl flat attack, but you do have the mic isolation here, right? So any sort of too high coverages, we really like this against the mic winning. Depending how you want to teach it, I teach it. You have the tackle box to work, right? At 12 yards, get open at 12 yards. The curls being open at 15 yards. Okay. Um, this is actually not a great drawing because in college you want the curls to be caught on the divide. In the NFL, those are going to be caught 14 to 15 yards, top of numbers. So pretty common stuff here. Nothing crazy here. Like good distribution, uh, good football play against most. Like it's a pretty safe play against most things, as you can see by my grading system. Uh, I'm gonna breeze through this because this is nothing revolutionary. I just want to show that they can run it from stacks, and then kind of some of the compliments on it. So anytime you get a compressed curl, you're running to your normal landmarks, right? Which in the NFL is top of the numbers, 15 yards. And then so how do you get there, right? You have two ways of getting there. You could either outside stem, then push vertical, right? How we've done in the past. But these guys run so many corners, it makes more sense to run the corner curl version of it. Same thing though. I know I gotta get to the top of numbers. I know I have to get to the top of numbers. College and Texas high school, it would be divide would be the same landmark. So nothing revolutionary here. You're gonna work your middle curl, and then depending on how you want to teach it based off squeeze or whatever those chords are, you'll work the curl flat to one side or the other. I just want to show this stuff. So we see the situation here. All right, we're down by 16 with 6 minutes to go. Uh, so like these type of situations where you're way down or it's third and 20 or second and 20, whatever, you'll see these guys call these stack curls, but they'll tag a pump somewhere or a post just to try to take advantage of the rare occurrence that you'll play quarters. Right, so here we have a twist, release, and the post top over top of it. So that's your premier look, your alert, whatever you want to call it. If you have it, take it. If you're going one to the backside curl, there's two. If that's not there at all, then you're just working your middle curl 1 to 2 like normal, right? So I don't like the word alert. I've never like truly known what that means. Like, hey, let's alert the post. All right, okay, well, am I looking at it or I'm not? Peek it, right? Whatever peek it means. I don't know if you're looking at it with one eye or whatever. But that would fall into this category. Okay, if you have the premier look being too high, here they do like a roll to Tampa type thing. But if you get the premier look, take the post or look post first to the backside curl. If it's like a one high, then we're gonna work on normal curl rules. So this only shows up when they're down big or it's second and 20 or third and 20, whatever, right? You're just trying to take the rare chance that you get the premier look. So same thing. If this is third and 23, you get chip pro. Now they have the post coming from up top. You have a post safety playing at 65 yards deep back here, right? So that's not premier. So you're going just middle curl to outside curl like normal. And you're gonna take your 10-yard gain and then punt the football. Same thing. We've got a post coming from up top. Like this to me should go there. Let me see the situation here. Second 25, right? So that's where all these things start popping up. Post up top, you got premier look. You should probably trigger it. That's your best shot you'll ever have on second 25 as a one-on-one post. For whatever reason, he doesn't like it, so he ends up scanning it like normal and coming to the backside curl. Right, so that's why I love the R curl plays, because you can tag one guy to take advantage of whatever you're playing that week, a man beater or a matchup. If I have a really good player, I'm putting him on some sort of double move or a post or whatever. And if that premier look is not there, then you're scanning back through normal curl rules. What do we got here? We got third and 15. Third and 15. So I really like this one. It just takes 16 seconds to throw it. He's running like a curl pump, right? Like he's running a corner, curl, stutter, and go. It never gets there because it just takes entirely too long. Cool thought. Might as well on second 15 or third and whatever it is, 15. I mean, like a punt, like a sack doesn't matter. I know defensive coaches and head coaches are angry, but I've never like had a issue taking a sack on third and 20 when this could be potentially open. Same thing up top or down, yeah, down here. So same pump thing. It doesn't take. It just takes way too long. Like cool thoughts. The ball just never ever ends up getting there. Okay, but just something to be aware of, something to think about. So Curtis being a curl and a through route. This is a uh, three-man play form. I would teach it as a scan. These guys are teaching it as the first look site, which is fine. What do you have is that same through route that we talked about earlier, right? You're running the influence post, unless it's one high, they're on the high cross, and then you have the curl flat outside of it. So similar to what we just talked about. Um, these stats are not from like the Cowboys run this quite a bit. They don't run the through; they run like essentially the seam. But the clips I'm about to show, like the Shanahan offense, they will activate the through. They will throw the through route first. So they'll go 1, 2 to 3. Similar thought process though, game planning wise and all that. And you kind of do different things on the opposite side of it. But you just don't love it against tight coverage type stuff, right? You got to win on a curl route against cover 1, which is not impossible. That's why it's a 3, right? I guess graded 3 against 1 or 1 rat. It's the same thing. This will be eaten up. And how they're teaching this through route's a little different, but ends up being just a 3-man concept up top, right? You get the through route, however you want to teach it. You get a check swing or a flat. Here they're free releasing, so it's a shoot, and then you have a curl. And then backside, you can tag whatever you want. So out of bunch down here, same rules: 1, 2, 3. 1 has the curl, 2 has the through, 3 has the flat, whatever the flat is from that position. Right here, it's just a 5-yard like choice out, sell the choice, run the out. So what's different about when these guys call it is they're throwing the ball here. You see, you end up having a burst route also coming this way, right? So like the ball is going to this side. However you teach a curl flat, I would teach it the same, right? They're taking the flat route first here, flat to curl, back to the burst coming from the running back. But same thing, it's really like against 3, like all the classic curl flat thought process, still the same. I didn't want to show this. This is one we'll look at a bunch because it does show up, right? It's just 3-man curl flat. Nothing crazy. You can see the running back also working that way. So soft zone coverage as you like it, just classic curl flat stuff. Here's one, this might be one last look. Same thing, creating bunch with the back, stacking it, creating bunch with the back. They switch release it. All ends up the same thing. And then they have a shallow coming that way, right? So like the ball is always, there's flooding the side. Easy progression for the quarterback. If you run curl flats already, it's easy. You will get the pump off of it, more a red zone play. Okay, so everybody's the same. You just have a curl and go off of it. And now the ball is definitely staying here, right? So you can see a 5-man flood here. You get the through route, you have a flat route, you have a curl pump, you have a shallow, and the back is running an angle. So talk about, I mean, the quarterback, this is great stuff for the quarterback because he can just stick his eyes right here. I have route, I have route, I have route. Like it all just comes right there for the quarterback. He's all kind of just straight progression, no thought process, no 1 high, 2 high, nothing. Straight progression football. Another look at it. Creating 3-man bunch down here with the running back. As I said, they will activate the through route more than like the Cowboys did. Cowboys is like a straight seam clear out. You get the pump route down here. You can see it just starting his feet, trying to take advantage. They did hit it. I believe against the Commanders this year, Purdy hit it for a touchdown. It looked kind of just like this, but flipped the other way. Right, so they do like this play 20 to the 30-ish to do the pump version off of it. And you can see up top, this is the same version that the Rams just ran with a shallow and the angle. So the pump wasn't there. You just reset and go shallow to angle. So it's easy read for the quarterback. Just underthrown there. All right, so snap. Talk about the snag games. So snack being a snag in a corner. These guys are running it a little bit differently, meaning these guys being the Rams is where most of these cuts are about to come from. It's a three-man concept. It's a scan concept. So this is not a first look side. This is the second look side. Okay, so you have some sort. A lot of times it's some sort of like smash variation or globe being a glance and that bait route. Like you're getting something here first with this snag jerk as the second look. All right. And so talking about this snag jerk right here, he's gonna run the snag, however you normally run a snag. If he's open, he'll settle right there. He'll sit right there. If he's mashed at all, he's gonna jerk back underneath, right? And he's your second look. The ball went here 3 times. The ball is never going to the corner. That's your clear out, and the ball went to the snag jerk 3 times. There's not really any sort of like stress on anybody. This is pretty measly. This was called 43 times. It was thrown 6 times for a total of 6 yards. Right. So, so this was called 43 times. It was thrown 6 of those 43 times, and it got 1 yard to play. Right. So you can see it's not fantastic. There's just no stress on anybody. Right. So you can see these grades are not great. A lot of 3s and 4s, and it's not what you want. But interesting idea. I kind of like the idea of it. It's just it just never really worked out. So you can run it from bunch. It's a 3-man tag, right? So bunch or twins with the running back, whatever. You're just creating a 3-man side. So here they're running choke, which is like a version of choice. I'll go over it in a different video. That this is always gonna be your first look side of whatever this is, and this being your second look side. So at a bunch, they will run it with their running back, then also running a return route. Right. So you get the snag jerk as the second look, and then you get the return route coming back as a third look. So you can see him. I would assume that if the return route is tagged, that he has to jerk back in, right? Even if he's uncovered, because you can't have him sit and then him looping back into him. But you see the intention here, right? Is to hit whatever this 2-man tag is to this. Corner's never in it. Corner's a pure clear out. Put me at corner. I can go run that for you. 3-man bunch again down here. You got globe up top, right? Glance and a bait, which is a premier cover 2 beater. This is your classic hook curl. Right, with a 3-man surface away or 3-man flank away from it. The mic's pushing this way, and you just in out the hook curl guy. But you can see your snag jerk working down here. The cup kind of he doesn't turn around if he's matched. He'll kind of just look this way and then jerk back in. Same play, same outcome, right? Premier 2-high type beater. Up top, you got him with the running back, Krang bunch down here. You see Cup's intention is to never catch the snag, is to always run the jerk. Back underneath is the second look. So I'm gonna breeze through these pretty fast because like it's a good idea. It's just the ball doesn't get there and it's not productive. So seeing it playing against cover 3, you get like a sim pressure here, creeper. So you get a fat ass dropping in the way who doesn't like relate the routes. You almost want them to match this one pretty hard because then the jerk can win. If there's like a true spot drop stuff, you don't like it actually as much. It's one of those rare plays where you don't like it as much because they're kind of dropping in space. They don't care about this snag. Yeah, you're just kind of running back into people, right? So here you run quarters, 55 pushes too high for whatever reason. If he stays down in the snag, there's nowhere really to throw the ball back to up top. Same thing, get smashed in quarters. So same thought process. They're just doing it with a dig instead. It's the second look. So this is snag with a dig. Same thing. It's a 3-man surface, 3-man flank type play. Okay, it could be bunch, could be just like how it's drawn here. Same thing though, it's the scan two side, so it's the second look side. So here, all right, you're back to getting whatever smash variations, whatever first look side here, two, and then three, right? So it ends up being just straight progression again. This one I like a little bit more. It has some defenses that's really, really good against, right? The attack is the same thing we've gone over and over. It's a hook curl attack. So I'm putting a guy in the curl, I'm putting a guy in the hook. This was called 103 times. This side was called 103 times. It was thrown 20 of those times with not great yards per player efficiency, right? It's one of those plays that draws up well. It's open. It's just like throwing a second, third look dig in the middle of the field it's not easy. Okay, it's not easy, but you can see good distribution here of where the ball is going. Breezing through these, right? One is fine. One rat, it's obviously bad. You're running into people. Cover two, it's heinous. I'll show you why. Cover three is what you want it against, especially based off the weak hook guy. Because let's say the weak hook guy pushes to this side, wherever this side's running. Okay, then you're back to having two guys on the hook curl because you're draining the flat guy with this swing. All good there. Cover four depends on how hard this guy is driving the dig. Cover five, it's bad, right? Any sort of like cloud variation is gonna be pretty bad. And then tight coverage stuff, it's not great against tight coverage when you got an extra guy in the hole. So up top, they're on choice. You can see against one rat, not great, right? Looking down here, there's just no runaways. Your one runaway is a dig running directly into a rat defender. Running backs in check swing mode. So check swing. Just nowhere. This is like a poor pairing of the play. It's not gonna be great because like when I say a poor pairing, right? Because we're combining two different tags. We have a 2-man tag here and a 3-man tag here, both of which are both bad against one rat, right? Chug, we don't like against one rat, choice go, and then Dodger, snag dig, we don't like against one rat. So you're not putting the pieces in to combine them very well there. So looking down here, we do like the runaway dig against man without a rat. You can see it kind of opening up here. You lose your back and protection, which is fine against man, right? Because the ball's not going to go to the swing in man. And you're not really liking the dig. Up top, they're running what I call Oki, which is the stem out in the same bait route we talked about earlier. Right, so whatever you put here, you can do all kinds of stuff you want. This is your first look side. This is your second look side. This is much more common. You're getting different variations of smash on this thing. So here is what I'm calling Ricky, which is return route and a corner. So the same return route we talked about on Dirty a little bit ago. Same thing here. Straight progression for the quarterback. He's however you want to teach it. Like all high lows, and you can look at it as like a whole piece, right? That's how we always talked about it. So you're 1 to 2 to 3. The snag. Now the issue here, like I gave it a 5, right? It's like it's awful against cover 2. It can be matched pretty easily. Right, you're just running right into people. But good pairing, because what do we like against cover 2? We like flat high lows. Right, which is exactly what you're getting here. Corner sinks too much, there's a bang on the flat, get her 6 yards and move on. One more look at the 2 Tampa. I think he throws it right to the spin down Tampa player. Same thing as like a bad pairing is you're running the speed out bait, which is bad against cloud, and you're running Dodger, which is bad against cloud as well. So that's what's fun about like the split field passing attack, and you can like mix and match things, right? So you can make sure you can solve these issues. Another thing to note on the dig is you really want to make sure to get to 12 yards. There's some ones from these guys where they're running it like a 9 or 10, and the quarterback just is never ready to throw the dig. So this thing's pretty shallow. Like it doesn't matter. This whole thing will get covered no matter what. But this is really tough timing on the quarterback. You can see like he has to turn so fast, like he'll never be able to see trash coming from inside out. Feel the timing of this thing. So either like drop cut it, like chop it, whatever, or deepen it up. But you need that thing to space out properly. Love it against cover three, based off what the weak hook defender does. Okay, if the weak hook guy, the guy away from the three-man side, ends up flooding it to the three receiver side, you don't like it. Like if he sees the back release and flooding that way, you don't like it because now you got two guys in the hook. If he stays to the two-man side like he does here, you really like the dig hitting off that guy. So here's that same Ricky concept. Not good against three, but this side's really good against three. Okay, so you start seeing like the pairings of this whole thing work out. And what's good about this pairing is that if the weak hook guy does work that way in this coverage, then the return routes could be open. Right. So I really like this combination. I think it solves a lot of issues. You have to cover one beater, not a beater, but you have a chance on the corner and the returning against cover one. Sorry. I think there's some good ways to win there. Same type of play here. We got crush, which is a corner and a shoot, a corner and a flat, however you want to teach it. So like typical like inverted smash type thing down here. And you got dodger up top. The issue is going to be if the flat player doesn't get out fast enough and you don't pull the string and stress these guys all this much, they can kind of pack it in, right? You don't get the great horizontal displacement here. Snag and bait landmarks are the same. In the NFL, the boundaries to be the top of the numbers. To the field, it's going to be the divide. In college, it's going to be the hash to the field and the divide to the boundary. So I like him right there. I don't like him when he jerks back in. Right, it makes it easier for the weak hook guy or the hook guy to play both of them. But the issue really comes because the flat doesn't get out fast enough, and now these guys can all kind of sit on their player. They don't have to expand. Like the flat guy doesn't have to expand out until really late in the down, and it kind of makes it muddy. So you're playing a dangerous game. Like you want to free release them, but you also don't want the coverage to get flooded post snap that way. But you definitely want. I would lean closer that way. You want him wider on this play, just not for him, just to pull the flat defender off to put the hook curl guy in a tough spot. So this is a common iteration too. Maybe not from bunch like this as much as it is from like um, different empty sets. But here's that sticky up top, stick shoot, first look, and then you're going dig to snag. So a straight around the world quick throw for the quarterback. Stick, shoot, dig, snag. You can see against cover three when the weak hook guy doesn't push there, how easy it is. And it's a nice opening. Like if he pushed harder, he didn't like it, you'd have the dig or the snag behind it. So you can kind of see the spacing against cover three families, how well it plays out. See how beautiful it is again against cover three. All right, the exact spacing you want. That's really nice. You see how much better it is though, when the flat player isn't check releasing and he pulls. I'm sorry, the flat runner being 30 up top right now. How much faster he pulls the flat guy? He pulls the string much faster on this whole thing, and it opens up on the hook curl defender pretty nicely. So you're like this against quarters based off of how aggressive the safety is driving the dig, right? So the same thing we talked about earlier. If this guy's playing with great depth like that, then you really like the hook curl type conflict. If that guy is driving it is able to become a new hook player hard, then you don't like it, obviously. These guys, even on Dodger, will jerk just like they did on Snack. They will jerk the snag runner in the Rams. I don't like that as much because now you're back to, once again, you're stacking it. Like this ball should go to me to the dig. The issue is once you start stacking the zones offensively and these guys are on top of each other, it's going to be really crowded and he's going to end up just going to the underneath guy. So I want him to sit. He's good there. Drain that guy out. Right, I'm running this against zone for a reason. Don't throw the ball to dig. Now look at it against quarters. So this is a rare different. This is a different one. So they're looking at. I mean, it's the same play, but they're treating it differently. They're running rogue down here, which is just a go and a return route, return go. Right. So that's now your second look side, and they're treating dodger now as the first look side. So same thing. Right. We're getting the flat guy out of there. We got a guy in the curl, guy in the hook, one guy to play of the hook and the curl. Right. Safety doesn't drive it hard enough. The dig should be wide open. And it is. Okay. Now, if they played it much more aggressively, more matchy with the safety, this is not a play I would look to call in quarters. So here's a common version, right? Talked about earlier. You got sticky down here. You got stick shoot, and then dodger coming from the field. This is a common like fast break it from the huddle. You can see them; they're just getting set type play. There's no really thought process for the quarterback. It's just straight progression. Shoot, stick, dig, snag. They're chipping up top. Once again, I don't like chipping it because now the flat's going to be late and you're going to pull the string on the underneath coverage is really late. And you end up stacking on top of each other. Like, I get why it's Bosa, but this ball's coming out so fast. Like, this is not a concept I want to chip on. There are plenty of good chip concepts. This to me is not one of them. You're just pulling the flat guy so late in the down. See him, quick break there. You can see him here when I talk about timing and spacing up top. If you speed cut it or run more of a glance, you have an issue because the quarterback just won't. You can see what time, like the timing by the time he gets back to it up top, he's just way late on it. So depth is important. The timing mechanism of how you cut it is important, right? Because you have to give time for the front side to develop to be open or not. They're running a smash variation down here. And then you gotta be able to have time to scan back into it. Right. So something to look forward to is the spacing of their underneath routes, the flat runner draining the flat defender, and then how you're running the actual dig is very important to this concept if that's something you're looking to put into. Seeing is covered two, gets covered pretty easily. Now the two player needs to squeeze. Obviously, the hook player needs to squeeze on cup a little bit more. End up getting it to him, but like this to me should not be open against cover two cloud families. But just want to show you a shot of them actually hitting the snag. Once again, they're jerking the snag. I would not. And now you end up directly stacked. Like you are directly stacked on top of each other. The dig will never get hit like that. If you don't want the dig to get hit, then don't call this, right? Just call the snack a variation I went over before and call it a day. Here's that same quick break. You can see everybody getting set. This is how the line, I believe this is what the Lions ran last play to beat Green Bay in the last game of the year. I know this. I know they end up throwing this stick shoot concept. I believe this is what they're calling though. Ends up being a fast break play a lot of times rather than the huddle. See him getting set. Defense is calling it, and they just they just drop the coverage. Last iteration, okay, is they will just full slide it and then put man beaters opposite. Okay, it's a common red zone play. The same thing. It's a fast break play. You have sniper, which is snag pick with a rail down here. So quarterback's going rail to dig to snag, right? So like if Dodgers in your playbook, it becomes a really good thing to pair with just different beater type plays. You don't have a flat guy because they're full sliding it, but is like this is elite man type play. Same thing. They're fast breaking the huddle. You can kind of see everybody getting set, like fast cadence, snag pick down here to the dig to the snag. It has red zone applications. Same play. They're just running it from the backfield. Snag pick down here, rail with the dig snag up top. Same thing. You're losing the flat guy because you're full sliding the line. That's fine. The ball's probably not going up top anyways. Last look. So this is funny that Green Bay got beat on this. This is what the Lions ran to beat them. Same thing. Fast break it, stick shoot. dig, snag. Right, it's all the same. You can see them; they're all jerking back underneath down here. Straight progression for the quarterback. You're trying to generate an easy bust. If not, then you feel pretty good about the whole play. Just getting back through it all. Just keep it rolling. Going to drive now. Classic. Let me go back to that. I'm sorry. Classic drive. It's a obviously it's a three-man thing involving the running back. It's a scan, right? So you're putting different things front side. Could be that snag pick type play. The common one, obviously, day one installs the fade out type thing. Ends up being a man attack back here, right? Especially if you pick for the dig. I'm sorry, if you pick for the shallow, it becomes pretty good against man. The issue is I think there's something better to do with the dig, right? Because there's 52 reps of it. The dig was thrown 0 times. Right? It's really hard to throw a third, fourth look dig, especially that's crowded, that whole thing. I don't know, maybe it's a corner curl. There's something better to do with the dig. I'm just not quite sure exactly what that is. But you see everybody runs it. It's been around forever. It's one of those things. It's good against two, right? Because you get the pick. Bad against rat because they can just take the shallow, and then everything else is just kind of it's okay on. Um, it's a lot of catches and tackles for 4 or 5 yards, all that kind of thing, which isn't bad. But I think there's probably better stuff out there in this world. So looking down here real quick, they got fast motion out there. So they lose the bait, which is fine. They're going shallow dig. Up top, they're running like a deep smash type concept. But ends up being, if that's not there, then you're always going shallow to dig back. Nothing revolutionary here. They'll just run it a lot from the stack alignments, obviously, to create some confusion, to get some rubs, that kind of thing. One rat's obviously pretty bad against because now he's got a rat guy sitting right here on the shallow. All these zone coverages, no matter what you have front side, these zone coverages, the shallow and the back wind up being open a lot of times because they're in that no cover zone. You just end up throwing the ball for 3, 4, 5 yards. If you feel good about that, go ahead. It's not the worst play in the world. I just think there's probably better stuff out there. If anybody has any better ideas, please reach out. So you got a smash type concept down here, but you're going to drive up top to scan back into. Right, they will play with the backs alignment. Here they kind of have them come opposite and running the bait. Like I said, the dig has never been targeted on my 52 cuts of this thing. Not a huge. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on this because I think everybody's run this at some point or another. This is an interesting play. What's this situation here? Oh, this is a different one. So they will do this one. I grouped them together because it's not that different, right? This guy's running a drool instead of drive. He's running a drive and a curl of drool. In which you have pod, which is a post dig, right? This is like their quarters beater type thing. They'll do this kind of same situations when they're like curl post I went over earlier. When they're down, end of game, third and long, second and long type thing. They'll call this concept. It's your classic like shallow type thing, right? Post dig with the shallow coming this way. Obviously, you don't want to run two digs together, so let's have him run on drool around the corner. But it's the same thing. Is you're going to the beater side first, which is post dig up top. Obviously, it's bad against one. There's some cleaner looks coming up. I grouped all these together because I didn't want to spend a ton of time on drive. See it all kind of developing here. They're probably way down based off 59 seconds left in the game. Like the desperation play, go post dig down here off stack and then run drool up top. Ends up being one high, so it'll all be covered up. Get the ball down to the back, hopefully get it bounds and let it find another day. There's some, I think the easy ones against the San Fran. You can see it. They're in quarters, right? Post dig, premier. Switch release it to get the levers they want. Make sure they get the levers on the post. So it ends up being like your classic NCAA shallow play. Just make sure to run the corner with the instead of the dig from the tight end here. I believe they ran these back to back. The first one he missed, or the dig's wide open, and they come back and do the clip I just showed you. All right, so same thing. I trips. Same rules exist. One on the drive, sorry, one on the shallow, two on the dig, and now you have three on how you want to teach it. You can go with the through route with him I discussed earlier, or you can have him always run the crosser. I believe these guys are always running the crosser. And it ends up being the same thing. That's your scan two side, right? So you have something here to go first. So it's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? You know, getting those spots, right? With the crosser going there, the shallow coming here, and the dig going there. Same thing though. The dig's never targeted. He won't get targeted that far behind the play. The ball probably will never get there. The ball, I don't know if the ball went to the crosser much. This stuff, like they don't run this a ton. Bunch drive. Green Bay runs it. Here you go. Runs it more. I didn't put a ton of them on here. This is like the complement, right? Because they do run a good amount of bunch drive. Is to have the shallow guy just run a pivot, like your man beater. Here it is, fourth and whatever. So this is like, this even seem can to it. You give them a thumbs up. See Rogers, give them a thumbs up. That means the play is on. All right, so this is very clearly like a can alert type system play because it is so specific demand that you couldn't run this against zone. So they'd have some sort of second call on, which your guess is as good as mine what the second call would be. Right, so if you do run bunch drive, this is a good way to run it. Right, is every once in a while if you're getting hard man, run the pivot off of it, he'll be wide open. So they check into it. Same thought process though. As two-man drive is you like it against 5-man or man without a rat. Any man without a rat player, you really like it. You can just create like up top, just a I don't know what that is, just a agglomeration of humans, right? And the drive route will then probably the shallow route will probably pop free. So you're going whatever your boundary X tag is, you're going X, some sort of ISO vertical, something to the shallow. Good play against man with no rat. Everything else, it's okay. You'll get your 4 yards and move on. These guys really attack people early in the 20 season with it. They check into it a lot, as you see. Same thing. Here's Krang, just such a pile of trash to go through for the outside guy if you don't want to pass it off. It was very, very, very difficult to go through for the outside corner. So something to remember if you're getting man with not a rat, this is a pretty good little play to get to. Same idea up top. You just have a two-man tag down here, which I'm calling motor. So same thought process up top. You got the crosser, the dig, and the shallow. This is like more meshy. Like this is a true man play. You're getting you have a good running back. This is a great play because you're getting a one-on-one like double move as your first look. Running back against a linebacker a lot of times. He is creating the mesh, so he's running the shallow, but over top of the boundary or the field shallow. And then up top you have your I'm trying to do that wrong. You have your classic drive we went through. Right, so double move. So your double move here to like the mass pick coming back into it right here. So you can see it kind of developing. Double move running back on linebacker. Devin White covers it well. Then you're going to the shallow. So this is like the ultimate man check play as well. Especially if you have a matchup, doesn't have to be good running back. If you have your receiver against their corner you really like, put him here, give him any double move he wants, and then everybody else is basically just picking for the shallow coming right back into it. So the quarterback can just stare right here and go double move to the shallow. So same play, they're just running because he's so far back, no double move, just on the rail. the same thing, go rail. So like your mesh rail type thing. We'll go over that in a little bit. Like the base 2x2 mesh rail, but this is what you want defensively, right? Different ways of covering the bunch. The corner outside is probably not gonna be able to stay with it. But different ways of passing this stuff off. Rats in the middle, that kind of thing. You can cover this pretty easily. They cover the rail. This is really like a two-person play. This is really rail to mesh to shallow coming to it, and that's about it. I believe this is the last look at it. Same play. See a beautiful example of ratting this thing out and covering it pretty easily. So rat, go check the three-man side if I'm playing these type of offenses. The single side I'm not concerned about at all. So the rat progression, if I'm playing these worlds, is to check the bunch for sure.